Bible Study. Fresh off our patriotic 4th of July, we're back for a very special and frankly quite demonic episode with a special guest who we'll introduce in a moment. So we're very excited for this. But as always, I'm your co-host Ash, here with my co-hosts
Scott
and ho Julian.
I guess we're doing this is Christmas in July.
Biatch.
I forgot this is our special Christmas in July episode. What would the month of July be without you're in the middle of summer, and you've prayed a little bit on 4th of July, but you find yourself so focused on summer frivolity you forget the reason for the season. And that's why Boys Bible Study is back with our Christmas in July episode. Our special guest today, who has a Christmas movie of his own that's out right now that we're excited to talk about. This is shot on video filmmaker Brewce Longo.
How you doing?
Representing the Philadelphia scene. Nice to meet you, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I love the show. It's funny because I actually discovered you guys being a Christian show, but I first discovered you guys from I think you had another satanic filmmaker, Bill Hellfire, on maybe a year or so ago.
We sure did. Yeah. Yeah, Bill is a legend. And yeah, we had him on to talk about on literally one of my favorite movies ever, which is the Christian Columbine film, I'm Not Ashamed. And, Bill Hellfire is a sort of a Columbine expert himself. So he's sort of a Columbine stan himself.
I watched that movie like immediately after hearing about it. It was unreal. I loved it.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. And thanks. And I'm glad you heard the show too. But, Scott came up with this film pairing for today, which I thought was a perfect complement between your filmmaking, which is very like metal inspired, shot on video with some pretty demonic themes, to talk about The Day of the Beast, which we'll all, spend quite a bit of time analyzing in a moment. But first, I would love for Boys Bible Study listeners to hear more about you and your work. So you're a Philadelphia-based filmmaker, is that correct?
At least my first two movies are shot in Philly. I recently moved to Lancaster, about an hour and a half outside of Philly. But yeah, I've been living in Philly the last 15 years or so, and my two features are shot there.
Did you know I am an Allentown boy myself? Now living in Los Angeles, but
okay.
I spent until I moved to LA about 9 years ago. I spent all my life in Allentown, so I'm quite familiar with Lancaster and with some of the Pennsylvania Dutch references in A Corpse for Christmas. I was very actually quite excited to hear that. I was
cool.
Like, all right, we're home.
Yeah. So I guess living in Lancaster, I guess that's probably how that seeped into Corpse. But there's a little bit of Lancaster in there, but we mostly filmed it all in Philly still. Yeah.
So you're a shot on video filmmaker primarily. That's what your features are, correct?
Yeah. I started off doing claymation videos. Those are all digital. It's just way easier that way. But shot on videos stuff is like the stuff I like to watch the most. So when I finally decided to make a movie, to me it just had to be on video. To me, it has like that grainy lo-fi look that I love in movies. So yeah, we shoot on.
Is that how you and Scott met?
I honestly don't remember how I met Scott.
I think just from having mutual interest on Letterboxd initially.
Sure,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that
and I don't remember who followed who first, but I mean, you know certainly at least as well as I do that there's you see the same faces again and again when you watch certain types of low budget movies on Letterboxd.
Sure.
Yeah,
and
which
honestly,
is pretty nice.
I didn't even I didn't put together that you were the Boys Bible Study guy up until pretty recently too. It was I think I just happened to notice the type of movies being logged on kind of matched Boys Bible Study once in a while, and I was like, is there a connection?
Yeah, well, Scott is our shot on video expert. He did a screening series in Los Angeles just at a DIY space a couple years ago. That was all shot on video films, which is how I got introduced to a lot of them. And so it's cool I love that aesthetic as well. So it's cool that that's like the film medium that you like working on. You were just about to describe like what you shot on, I think.
So I shoot on VHS-C. I use we mostly use JVC camcorders from the late 90s. I think the one we used is like a 98, 99. They're just like those like little VHS compact tapes. But also, I was going to say too, that's another thing I really connected with your show about, because after seeing Bill on your show, I went back and saw like you had like episodes on like Shattered Dead and some other like really cool like stuff I wouldn't really think about as Christian films. And like bizarre occult, low budget shot on video stuff, so I realized there was like something more to this show. Like when I first heard you were having a Hellfire on, I was like, are these guys, is it going to be like some like weird like debate about Christianity? But it's really not that at all.
That would be sick though. We should honestly do that somewhere. That's we obviously centered the show when we first started on films like made for Christians by Christians, like outsider films that were specifically meant to like cater to a Christian audience. And we do have light dogmatic debates on the show sometimes, but I think like more than anything else, we're low budget and outsider film fans. We just focus on Christian stuff because we think it's interesting, but like we love seeing like, so it's again cool to have you on and like get to know your scene and what you do and some of the people you work with. So
two of my regular stars are very either Christian or like Christian originated. David the Rock Nelson, who's in all my stuff, is like the most Christian person I've ever met. Not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's like a super like DIY low budget 90s SOV guy, who he's like 66 and still making films. And he's a seminary dropout that picked up a camcorder to make monster movies when he I decided not to be a preacher. Another guy, part of my crew, Josh Christensen, he was raised extremely Christian, and I think he just started like breaching out maybe a couple years before I met him, but he was always like not even just religious, but I think he had like a very strict upbringing that didn't allow like a lot of like film or drugs and drinking and like women and like all that kind of stuff. So it was like, I think him like leaving home and like moving to Philadelphia and like meeting people like me is just like is very new to him. And then for him to be in movies like, Bloodsick Psychosis, it's to me it's really funny.
That's wonderful.
Great.
He was like on Rumspringa in Philadelphia, basically.
Never went back.
That's so sick. That's so sick. And and also that's incredible about David the Rock Nelson. I saw his name in the credits and I saw him in your film. Did not know that name. I don't know if Scott did, but I just Googled him right now and he is like, this is like an entire career's worth of filmmaking. This is incredible. I would love to talk to him.
Kind of an underground legend. Actually, Bruce, if you want to talk about him a little bit more, I did not realize he was a seminary dropout for some reason. That's pretty wild. How did you get a hold of him, and like how does he live in Pennsylvania?
Nope, he lives in Illinois, Des Plaines, right outside of Chicago. So we I drive out to his house to film with him, basically, just because I love him.
That's awesome.
He's been to Philly once, and he's going to be back in Philly again probably this fall if it all goes well. But yeah, there's a cool documentary that like that Zach Carlson did on him for a Vice TV show and he talks about his seminary school a lot in that. But I met him just because the only way to buy his movies is direct through the mail. He doesn't really have like a website or like a online shop where he doesn't really have much distribution. So if you want to see his movies, you literally have to write him a letter in the mail. with a check or money order, and
that's awesome.
So I kind of became like a pen pal of his over the years, and when we were doing Bloodsick Psychosis, my one like B movie, I don't know, star is like I use that term loosely, but had to drop out very very last minute. And I don't know, it's just me and like one of the guys, Ryan, who was he did sound. He was just like, wouldn't it be funny if you got David the Rock Nelson? Because he's just a guy that we all really love, and he was just into it, And he's not into like my movie styles at all, but he likes the attention and he likes filming, and I don't know, yeah, we kind of had just hit it off, He won't say certain things. Like he won't say anything that's like has like curse words or derogatory stuff. He won't say anything like it's non-religious, but I guess he didn't mind being in the movie still, as long as he didn't have to do anything wrong.
See, the hand of God works in so many ways, like, in order to construct this very demonic movie, the series of movies, still God's behind it all. And that's what we learn all the time here at Boys Bible Study. So I'm
Absolutely.
very happy to know that. Yeah. Your newest films, both 2022 films, it seems, Bloodsick Psychosis and A Course for Christmas, which we got to watch. I still haven't seen Bloodsick Psychosis myself. I'm sure Scott has.
Yeah, Bloodsick we filmed in 2021, came out 2022. And then A Course for Christmas, we filmed it on the holiday season 2022, but just came out, had its first show July 1st. So by the time this airs, we'll probably have our second show. We're playing Kansas City on the 9th. We're doing a whole Christmas in July mini tour, playing 10 cities in July.
Congrats. Scott mentioned you were going to be at Mahoning, right?
Yeah, we're not screening at Mahoning, but they hold an annual VHS festival, which is just like a big giant like VHS flea market, and then they screen a bunch of like movies from VHS on the big screen. It's put on by Lunch Meat and Saturn's Core, and so I'll be there selling stuff, but not screening our movie, unfortunately. But it's still like a big event for us.
Totally. Yeah, that's awesome. I hope any BBS listeners in the area will say hi to Bruce at VHS Fest if you find him there. But if you wouldn't mind just talking about Course for Christmas a little bit, and
sure,
and just intro our listeners to that film, please. It was fucking sick. I was really happy to see
Thank you.
A brand new voice and shot on video film.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's kind of based on true life serial killers Carol Bundy and Doug Clark. They were necrophiliacs that were arrested in 1980, and we kind of took their story, but like put it in like more of like a 1990s heavy metal Philly scene. They were from LA, and then we also set it on Christmas time. Their story, I think, took place over the course of a year or so. But I always wanted to make just kind of like a cute but depressing holiday slasher. So it's also it's also a relationship drama. But if everyone involved, nobody really likes each other. It's just all very toxic and messy and gross. And of course, there's just like horrible murder and necrophilia things happening. And the movie stars kind of like a mixture of B-movie actors, fetish models, and heavy metal band members, which to me, I think just like all sort of like mixed together really well. We got some live. Sure, yeah, we got some live performances from Devil Master, nice Christian rock band, and then there's Savage Mystic, That Be Haley, Unreal City from Pittsburgh, and there's this cool Philly punk band called the Slads. They played their first show ever at our concert for the movie. And then we also
awesome.
like invented a band for the movie called Yankee Cuss. It's kind of not so much metal. It's more like sort of like gothic country. But that was Josh Christensen's character. It basically became his band that essentially formed for the movie. And it has David the Rock Nelson in it, who we talked about, and also has S&V legend Joel D. Wynkoop, known for like Truth or Dare and like the Tim Ritter movies.
So
That's
cool.
awesome.
I noticed too for Yankee Cuss that y'all released T-shirts for it, and I had forgotten for some reason with Day of the Beast, even though I've seen it a number of times now, that there's a band for that movie too. So great tie-in.
Right.
Satanica.
What they were called? Satanica, right? Yeah.
Satanica.
Awesome, and that scene where they go to the club is amazing too. I'm like, I want to go to like a metal club like that. I wish that was here in Philly,
100%.
To hell.
Yes.
To hell. Right.
Yeah, Scott, in my opinion, Scott, you like really topped yourself with the film pairing this week, because there was just like an incredible amount of parallels between the focus film of our conversation today, which is Day of the Beast, El Día de la Bestia, 1995 Spanish film, Spanish/Italian film, and Bruce's work, and specifically A Corpse for Christmas, because we're talking about films where metal is integrated into the plot, where there was like potentially, I actually didn't look up the origins of Satanica, but there was potentially a band formed for the making of the film, where there was like T-shirts for the band became like a plot point in the film, and just a really nice mixture of angelic and demonic themes, which we love to see in a BBS movie. I love this film.
I'm blanking on the name, but I want to say Satanica was played by like a band. I think there is an existing band that submitted music to be known as Satanica. Kind of like if you ever see that movie Trick or Treat, where like all like the Sammy Kerr stuff. It was not really it's fictional for the movie, but like a real band that already existed recorded it.
Oh, that's cool. No, I'm not familiar with that one, but Scott, Day of the Beast is a fave of yours.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I was introduced to it just a couple years ago, but I've watched it a few times since. Just so crazy. And I love any time where like Christianity like has to exist for the movie to work, and it makes the movie like really insane. Like I didn't really connect it until this time watching it, but it really seems like a full response to Satanic Panic, and just being like, yeah, okay, it is all true. Here's the movie.
Yeah.
And like just no matter where they look for symbols and things, that symbol does mean something. You're always right to be paranoid and thinking about like the symbolism behind stuff, because it does mean something.
I love too that the only way to stop the beast is to basically become one with it. You have to turn yourself his way to be able to stop. It's just so insane.
Yeah. Also shoot it with a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really marvelous take on Christian cosmology, which I personally haven't seen in a film. And again, regular listeners of our show will know that we although we tend to focus on films by Christians for Christians, we also love to spotlight some of our favorite films that, rely deeply on Christianity to get their message across, or talk about the religion or the church in some way. And Day of the Beast was an incredible take on this. Just a little background. Álex de la Iglesia is the director, which is, first of all, a really fitting name, Alex of the Church, to create a movie like this. So I thought that was really cool. Not familiar with much of his other work, nor the star of this film, who is apparently a pretty famous actor. But that's Álex Angulo. Scott, do you know anything about this director and star?
That director's made some other crazy stuff too. He makes crazy shit. This star though, I know I've seen him in other stuff, but I can't. I'm blanking on what, to be honest.
He was in like 60 features in his career. Apparently, he was like a reasonably famous Spanish actor during his lifetime. He looks
a lot like De Niro too.
Spanish De Niro, possibly.
He could pass for De Niro, I think. But I've only seen a handful of Alex's other movies, but he's got that movie Perdita Durango that is got a lot of insane satanic themes that run through it too. And so honestly, I don't know much about him, but I wonder if he's Christian or if he's just like super into just like making crazy messed up movies. But I heard he has like a new like satanic TV show on HBO as well, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, you would think someone who focuses on those themes so much, I mean, can't speak to his like upbringing, but it's clearly just like a huge point of fascination for him.
Sure. But he seems to be pretty prolific too. I mean, he has a lot of directing credits, but I've only seen like maybe 3 or 4 of his movies so far. But they're all pretty insane.
Yeah, his 2020 HBO series Treinta Monedas, 30 Coins. It's about the ordeal of Father Vergara, an exorcist, boxer, and ex-convict exiled in a parish in a remote village. And apparently it was the most viewed show in Spain in 2021. So
that's awesome.
Pretty popular. Also very uniquely religious themes, and seems like it was a pretty big TV event. So he's still working, making hits.
Yeah, he's still got it.
God bless. I guess so, yeah. Where should we start with Day of the Beast? I guess we sort of mentioned it, but it would be great to sort of like meet the priest who's the main character and talk about like what his mission is, because that's basically what starts off the film. We learn about his mission right away.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much just like walks right into a church and tries to like explain his mission, and it's just he's on it pretty much like already when the movie starts. And you kind of know where it's headed in that opening scene where he's talking to his fellow parishioner, and or I don't know if he was another priest or what, but basically says, so I have to do as much evil as possible so I can find the antichrist, because I figured it out. He's going to be born on Christmas Day. And before the scene ends, like the giant cross in the church just like crushes the man right in the church.
So cool.
Yeah. So sick.
Was it Christmas Eve right when it started too? There's a pretty decent amount of Christmas lights and decor throughout the movie, but I want to say it starts right off and it's already Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah, if it's not Christmas Eve, it's Christmas Eve when it starts, but it mostly takes place Christmas Eve. I'm remembering that manger too that they plow through when the metal friend has unlimited rounds in his shotgun, apparently.
Yeah. There was people
Jose
acting
Maria.
out the 3 wise men. Yeah, Jose Maria, yeah.
He's easily my favorite character in the movie. He's just and he's also like the most like innocent. Like he's supposed to be like the big tough like metal guy, but he's like the cute puppy dog of the trio, really.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
He's like as soon as he meets the priest walks into his store and he's just like, I need like evil metal, like that'll get me closer to Satan. And the dude's just like, oh, cool, you're a priest. Like, here, you're gonna want this. Take this satanic up. And he's like, I'm not paying for it. He's like, I don't care. I just want you to have it. Like he's such a sweetheart.
It's true.
I know. Yeah, that's an interesting contrast in their characters. Like, Jose Maria becomes the priest. Let me say his name. Oh, his name is literally Ángel. So his name is like angel, basically. Then the metal guy you meet is Jose Maria, which is like a very common name, but Maria references like the Virgin Mary.
Sure.
So we have 2 characters like straight up with like very, very biblical first names. Ángel, the priest, who is literally on a mission reluctantly, although he honestly doesn't seem super reluctant in a lot of the shit he's doing, to do sins such as It's literally take money out of the hands of the homeless, or steal things from stores, vandalism, theft.
You push that mime down the stairs.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Instead of reading somebody their last right says, "I hope you rot in hell" in their ear.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Steals their wallet.
It's amazing.
He was doing a little trolling.
His thieving from stores, though, I find questionable, because he always tells the store owners, he's like, "Listen, I can't pay for it."
That's a good point.
I guess he tried to steal something from the bookstore, but then when he got called, he's like, "No, listen, I have the money, I just can't give it to you." But yet, for some reason, he had no problem like paying for like the room for rent. I was like, where's the morality? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, is it really a sin if you like announce to someone what you're gonna do? If you give them a heads up, it's hard to say.
He's new at this. He's new at it.
He is.
But I think he did enough that he qualifies as a sinner, though, for sure.
Definitely. And then, by sort of dramatic contrast in a couple ways, his immediately meets the new friend, Jose María, the Spanish metalhead, who works at the record store. And, we get to meet his family as well. And this is a guy who, as you said, Bruce, is like, there totally is like an innocence to him, and that, even though he does things as, take drugs all the time, do engage in like violence, although his violence seems to be like in service of their cause. It doesn't necessarily seem like something he does needlessly, but
sure,
he's definitely portrayed as like a societal outcast, someone who like someone in polite society would just assume is a thug. But
sure,
there really is, like, as you said, a puppy like innocence to him that makes him like a really compelling foil to Ángel.
Yeah, and he's kind of just like there for the ride. Like he's like he like kind of wants to help, but I think he's mostly just having fun.
Yeah. And the third in this trio that we're going to pick up as the film goes along, who will become basically our three wise men on the hunt for the Antichrist, is a man whose presence we continually see on TV monitors throughout the movie. He's sort of like another someone who in the fiction of this movie is like has a very pervasive influence on the pop culture at that time, and that's Professor Cavan, who is a sort of like TV occult psychic on the realm of like the Miss Cleo of our youth, or our other favorite TV mystics and psychics, crossing over with, what's that guy's name?
John Edwards.
Yeah, not to be confused with political John Edwards, the one who crossed over. We love him. Who's our other favorite American psychic personalities?
I don't know many of them, but I also love this guy, that this guy immediately like admits himself as a phony as soon as he meets the priest.
Yeah, I love that. And some of that is definitely just to like get this like priest off his back, but at the same time, it's like, it's cool that he just has an immediate acknowledgement that what he's doing is just like being an asshole. Like when he becomes the resource for like how to summon Satan, when they're using pages from his book, he's like, none of that. That's all a farce. Like there's absolutely nothing in here that could possibly. But
at the same time, I left something out that you need. So it's
right.
Yeah,
he almost seems like someone who was a true seeker, but sort of got like perverted along the way when his like brand became a TV phenomenon.
Right.
But maybe you get the basis that at one point he was like very genuinely seeking Satan, or seeking like esoteric secrets. Really funny character. They literally all three of them quite lovable in their own ways, which is like remarkable when you're writing a movie.
And none of them really evil. It's like they're all really like good dudes. Like they're just like they got to do what they got to do to like save the world.
yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a fun movie. Like I was laughing. Yeah. I was not depressed watching this movie. You know what I mean? Like, there was some antisocial shit happening at times, but I was laughing,
Sure.
Yeah, ultimately a lot lighter than some of the other apocalyptic movies we've watched.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for something that has like so many like just like fucked up things that happen, it's all done like I don't want to say whimsically, but like it's in a fun way, you know. It's like it's kind of like a party movie, you know.
Very, yeah, very. No, there's
I also,
a lightheartedness. Yeah,
I love some of the smaller characters too, like when the priest goes to stay at Jose Maria's family's house. There's like the dad that's just like always sitting around with his dick out, and then like to contrast that, it's like the virgin daughter or whatever, and like the super angry mother. They're an awesome trio as well.
Yeah, the battle axe mom who's like hell bent on protecting her daughter's innocence. Yeah, as you said, full frontal male nudity in this film, which is we don't always get to see in a film. You always got to call that out when you see it. Basically, the only nudity. I guess we see some titties from time to time, but mostly it's just this super old guy with his dick out at like family breakfast, which is hilarious.
Taking acid at breakfast.
Yeah. Jose Maria gives him acid as sort of like an enrichment activity, which is very funny.
It's considerate.
A very cute family, a family that seems to have an acceptance of each other. That is very charming. Like, they just sort of accept that the father is just naked at all times. Even the very, conservative seeming mom doesn't really do anything to try to stop it. She's actually quite supportive of Jose Maria. Like, there's that moment toward the beginning of the film where she's like, I know, like, he works in a record store, but he's really an artist. Like, you should see his drawings. I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah,
frankly.
No, that's awesome. That's like how a mom should be, I feel like.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it was cool.
And then she elbows him in the face.
Yeah. It's like a nice slapstick.
You got to keep your kids in line somehow, right?
Right. Yeah. The three connect, on Hell is looking, again, he's seeking the Antichrist, the literal Antichrist. He wants to summon Satan in the flesh and find out where the Antichrist will be born. And Jose Maria excited to join him on this quest because it sounds heavy, as he consistently says. He says fuerte all the time. Fuerte, which is a really cool catchphrase. So yeah, they link up with Cavan, and Cavan sends them on a sort of like esoteric scavenger hunt that comprises a lot of the second half of the film, where they are gathering ingredients and other conditions required to like literally make the devil appear. So that's puts a lot of fun things in motion.
I guess he does, but they're all hallucinating, so who knows?
Right. Yeah. What did you think of the requirements for Satan appearing? Do you think did that ring artistically true to you?
I don't really I haven't really tested a lot of like invocations like that, but I feel like if you're going to be drinking blood and taking lots of acid and I don't know, destroying a stranger's apartment and drawing crazy symbols, like I don't know, if that doesn't bring Satan out, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Are you interested in the dark arts, Bruce?
I'm like intrigued by them, but I wouldn't say I'm like a practitioner by any means.
Yeah, I am. I've dabbled over the years, believe it or not, but I don't know. You need a lot of props and ingredients and stuff like that.
Yeah, clearly.
Christianity's nice. Christianity's nice because you can just, especially Protestantism, because you can just pray in your bedroom. But
it's hard enough getting like 4 people to see a movie together.
I know, right? Yeah.
We did a somewhat similar ritual in my first movie, Bloodsick Psychosis, but it wasn't as involved. I think they were on acid and drank blood and had some like, I don't know, some fire and bread in a holy circle in a cemetery, but it wasn't as dangerous, I guess, as the ritual in Day of the Beast.
Yeah. What's the goal of the ritual in Blood 6 Psychosis? Is it also like a demon invocation?
No, it's more of a like a blood ritual of kind of just like signing oneself over to each other. Because it was like Pacey and Reb are the characters, and they're sort of like best friends that bond over fucked up stuff. And they decide to go on a killing rampage together. But Pacey is kind of like a practitioner of dark arts and decides that they have to take a blood oath and offer themselves to Saturn before doing so.
Team bonding activities are very, very important. Especially, exactly. I think more and more corporate entities should be doing like blood rituals with each other. Just confirms what people already know, really.
Sure.
If we found out that like Google did like blood rituals with each other before, I don't know, start the day.
Hey, they might, man. I wouldn't put it past
I know,
them.
right? Yeah. But yes, some of the ingredients to collect stuff to invoke Satan are very they would be very, very dark, except for the movie was just so like funny and slapstick that I was like cackling at the shit. But the priest Ángel trying to retrieve blood from Jose Maria's virgin sister, which involved like him, like dragging her around the house and like accidentally killing Jose Maria's mom, which Jose takes in stride. It was just really just great, like well written, well timed, like slapstick sequences for collecting all this shit.
I feel like that scene stands out the most to me in the movie as like the most tense of him trying to get that that virgin blood, not just between her, but when it becomes a whole thing where he's hiding from the mom, and he's like just narrowly dodging her. At one point he's like locked in the bathroom and like the naked dad's in there, and he doesn't seem phased at all. And it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like you don't see her death coming, and that whole scene I think is just it's so tense and well done. I think to me is like the most serious like sequence in the whole movie.
I agree. Yeah, there's like you really feel the tension in the air with that one in a way. The stakes feel very high, and what Ángel is doing at that point is like pretty. One of the more evil things he's doing for sure, and you find yourself like not entirely rooting for him during that, but I think the film is so effective because it like allows you to phase pretty seamlessly in and out of like rooting for him and rooting for what they're doing.
Yeah, he's like roofing the girl trying to. Is that one point you just want to be like, can you just steal a little bit of blood and get out of there? Like, do you have to kill the mom and all that?
Right. But the other interesting plot thing going on in the film is like there's a background of a sort of like political intrigue involving a gang of like sort of vigilante, I don't know, like fascist people. Like hard to describe. Like Julian, how would you describe like the political vibe of what's going on in this scene in the movie?
Yeah, there's like a through plot of a like you said, group of fascists who are going around spray painting clean up Madrid on the walls and setting homeless people on fire.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, meant to be like a real world evil going on. Watching this movie, I felt like there was a lot of stuff I was missing, not really knowing the like political and economic climate of Madrid in 1995. Especially with the like setting of the final showdown.
Right.
I don't know if you guys looked up what those towers were.
I did not.
It's like a commercial office building called the Gates of Europe. That was completed the year after the movie came out, but I don't know like what the discourse about that building was.
Yeah, I like to think they just thought it looked sick, and they were like, "That's got to mean something evil."
Yeah.
It reminded me of there's this down in like DC. There's this monument. I want to say it's something military related. I don't remember what it's actually for, but it's like 3 tall like hooked spikes. And I don't know, for whatever reason, like those buildings reminded me of this monument, because like it's hard to see all 3 of them at once. So it's like if you look at them from one angle, you just see these 2 hooked spiked monuments that are like, I don't know, not quite like skyscraper size, but like it just, I don't know, it just reminded me of something like it just has this like insanely like evil look to it, even though it was probably made for innocent reasons.
Yeah. I just felt like the fact that it's like this, it's like an economic hub, like a world economic hub being built in Madrid, and there's like fascists killing homeless people in the like unfinished building while they're searching for the antichrist, and and it's like the spot where the devil is supposed to appear. I was like, man, I really wish I knew, because I know that like Spain is constantly in political and economic turmoil, that I was like, there just has to be like some deeper message that I am unaware of going on here. Yeah. Especially given like our 3 heroes are like in the midst of their LSD fueled psychosis at this point. Right. And I don't know about you all, but I felt like there was like a heavy indication that what they were doing may or may not actually be happening.
Yeah, right.
Like it may not. They may just be committing random acts of violence on their own with this delusional belief that they're summoning the devil.
Yeah, sure. That definitely occurred to me. You know, this theory just came to me now, and again, I don't know much about the Gate of Europe building or Spain's, what was going on with it politically at the time. That being said, Gate of Europe, business center with a name evoking a connectedness of Spain to the rest of the world. What do I think of after having just watched like 6 months worth of 6 months worth of apocalypse movies with you guys? I think about the one world currency, y'all, that's foretold in the Book of Revelations, which, as we learned from Day of the Beast, the Book of Revelations is actually a cryptogram revealing the date of the end of the world. So I believe. So what if the Gate of Europe entering Madrid represents the great beast that's going to give everyone the mark, so we can all partake in the one world currency, y'all?
I mean, that's what a lot of people think the euro is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet people did. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
it sure
and
is.
This is like, the advent of the European Union, and
I bet people did think about.
To me, it felt like kind of a tongue in cheek, like that's reference to all of that happening as like, people who were against it sort of thinking of it as like a sign of the end of times.
Right. And there's something there for sure. But what I also thought was really cool, because again, the movie portrayed the acts of Limpia Madrid, Clean Up Madrid, this, for lack of a better word, like terrorist or vigilante organization.
Just like hooligans.
Right. And, we see them from time to time. We even see a couple people who don't speak, but we start to recognize them from scene to scene. So we know that it's a consistent group of people who are doing it. But the movie, I think smartly so, throughout most of the film does not necessarily place a value judgment on what they're doing. I mean, obviously it's barbaric just in general that they're killing people, like that taken for granted. But I think the movie sort of hangs over your head whether or not, maybe characters in the film would be on the side of the terrorists who think maybe there's too much like homelessness or decadence in Madrid, or on the side of people thinking that what they're doing is very wrong and barbaric. So I thought it was really neat how in the climax of the film, when they finally find, the mark of the beast in the Gate of Europe, they hear the cry of the baby at night. And the baby is like clearly a baby that's just been birthed in a homeless encampment. And so, there's that moment of realization where you think like, oh, this like baby, this like child of homeless people, is the Antichrist. They have to kill this baby. That's like what, and then someone from Olympia, Madrid, immediately kills the family. Yeah, and you start to see like, oh, like it's not this. The Antichrist has been led to in a far different way. I just thought that was a really clever piece of writing. I was really taken with that.
And the obvious parallel being, Jesus Christ being born to homeless family while fascists tried to hunt them down and kill them.
And so
in some on Christmas too. So it adds another layer of like, did they kill the Antichrist or did they kill Christ reborn?
Oh yeah. I mean, either way, it was
mostly because it was the fascists who took him out,
or just some poor innocent family.
yeah.
Right. But so the movie continually states that the birth of the Antichrist will be a parody of the birth of Jesus. So it's like all the sign. In my interpretation of the film, the baby itself may not have been, like a Jesus figure. It's still absolutely barbaric that this group, killed the baby, but it did reveal the presence of the Antichrist, who is the leader of this like fascist vigilante organization, which was like that revelation really floored me when it got to that point in the movie. I was like, this is a really sick movie.
Yeah, that whole thing makes me think that like it was all in their heads.
Yeah.
No, just because it was like so suddenly revealed to be such a minor character, even though what they're doing is like of huge impact. The way it's presented throughout the movie, honestly, almost felt like it was just like scenery flavor.
Sure.
Almost like, the opening to like RoboCop 3 or whatever, where it's like trying to give apocalyptic vibes. But the fact that like it's just this random encounter and it's the devil and they kill him so easily. And it's like after he shoots him, he's immediately retakes his human form once you see it from outside of the vision of the priest.
Right.
Followed up with them basically being like, we can never tell anybody what happened here.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was so cool. And I was like so into it the whole time. But I personally, I feel like it was just like more evidence that what they were doing was like an LSD fueled.
You're probably right.
Hallucination, and them just feeding into the three guys who are just like super into this theory, like confirming each other's beliefs.
Yeah.
Well, they're like the perfect combo of people primed for this too, right? Like this guy's literally been studying like the apocalypse and the Antichrist for the last 25 years, for starters. Thinks he's figured it out. And then he goes to a metalhead in a metal store and is like, I need metal. I need satanic metal. And this is a guy who they're like establishing takes acid like maybe every day.
Yeah.
Probably
multiple times a day.
He definitely had a whole pocket full of it. So like it seems like he's plans to keep taking it.
Yeah.
It's a funny parody of the like Left Behind movies we watch and those other Antichrist movies where we see like people with fringe extreme beliefs trying to find like-minded people to like prevent the end of the world. But in those movies, they're actually right. Whereas in this movie, it felt like, oh, this is just like some slapstick adventure. That may not actually be happening.
Yeah. Although, again, what happens, who they end up killing. I thought the movie had a pretty overtly leftist bent to it in that capacity. So looking at the movie through that lens, it's not that their adventures were without consequence. They, at the end, they say like, can you believe we saved the world? And like, no one knows it. It's like, well, that might not be like cosmologically true, but to a lot of people out there in Madrid, they did save their world.
That I really did love was that even though, like you said, it's not as cosmologically impactful as like literally fighting evil or defeating evil. It's like they defeated a human form of evil.
Yeah.
In a band of fascists running around killing homeless people.
Yeah.
Under the guise of cleaning up the city.
I also just love the depiction of the Antichrist too. Like he looks evil as hell. I mean, and I don't know, it really works for me too. It's like, it looks like they're fighting the devil, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so sick.
When the goat comes in during the ritual and then gets on its hind legs, that was such an amazing moment.
I love that.
Awesome.
It was so funny and scary at the same time. It was like legitimately like heavy.
Yeah.
But also like, heavy. It was crazy. And
Fuerte.
Yeah, muy fuerte for real. And like, yeah, I loved the aesthetics of the Satanism in this film. I thought like everything about it was so cool. I loved Cavan's apartment, that like cool like modernist that had all these like weird esoteric like masks and things around, coupled with like the combination of like, trying to be true to a sort of like classic depiction of Satanism, but also like improvising and being resourceful for ingredients like white bread and like a pocket full of acid, like blended together with virgin blood instead of like, I thought the inclusion of the magic mushroom in the satanic ritual as a necessary ingredient was very interesting. And I don't really see that.
I also love that the acid is a perfectly okay substitute for it too, even though it's like a scientifically made thing versus like, just something natural that grows.
Yeah, it ended up being in the what's the word, in the logic of the movie, that it needed to be like a mind expanding hallucinogenic substance. It didn't have to be like the chemical analog of the magic mushroom.
Sure.
I thought that was very interesting.
As long as you trip, I guess it'll work.
Right.
I like how loose it is.
Right. I mean, there's something there, like, not to sound like a stoner, but it's like these materials with hallucinogenic properties have certainly been an aspect of like lots of cultures, magic and religion for
and including ages. For the writing of the Book of Revelation. Some people say that the author John who wrote it was potentially on psychedelics when he wrote this.
Yeah, I wanted you to bring up Revelation, Scott, because like that is a key focus of this movie. We have another Revelations movie, and although I don't know if Revelations is literally a cryptogram, I mean, we do know that there is something different about the Book of Revelations, even when compared to the other books of the Bible. Like it has a very distinct flavor, and I feel like in the past you've talked about why that might be.
Well, it was introduced 400 years after the next most recent book in the Bible.
Right.
So that's part of it, and kind of has like a different voice too. I picked up on this from listening to Transregret Snoopy's pod. Actually, shout out to Transregret Snoopy. But that like Snoopy. Jesus' voice in Book of Revelation is different than like the rest of the New Testament too.
Yeah.
Just in like the way he his literary voice, so to speak.
The people who published the Bible were struggling to stay relevant.
It was like
they had to like aim for the fences with Revelations.
They did. They brought the famous mangaka out of retirement to write a chapter 400 years later.
Yeah.
And they just said, "Go wild, let John cook."
Yeah, they said, "Let him cook, let him cook."
They fucking hit it out of the park. Here we are.
Yeah, no, I mean, even with like English translations, which are obviously not like a firsthand resource, I do agree. Like, there's something different about the literature of Revelations that you do feel like you're reading. Like they let another author take over. I mean, if this is just
or it's like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
right?
Where it's like 10 years between chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Only this time it was 400 years.
Yeah. Let's see
JoJo
do
guy's just
that.
like, I kind of forgot what the plot was, so I'm just going to start making up new stuff.
I mean, Revelations is such a dope book of the Bible. I mean, literally one of the most entertaining ones. If you're a person who, just likes cool stuff and wants to get into the Bible, like you might as well just read Revelations first because it's a page turner.
But you're going to be so disappointed by the rest of it if you start with
Inspired
Revelations.
Lots of cool films too, man.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that that there's this movie came out? I want to say earlier this year, maybe at the end of last year, The Devil Conspiracy. It was it's a Christian film that actually had like a small theatrical run, and it's like somebody steals like this like shroud that's supposed to have like the DNA of Jesus in it, and they want to, and it's a cloning company, and they want to try to clone Jesus Christ, but then
I have heard of this.
But then there's a priest that's like, no, if you do that, it's gonna like bring the antichrist. It's an insane plot.
Last year.
Yeah.
From last year, awesome. We should watch this. Yeah. I want to see it.
I mean, if you like Antichrist movies, I mean, it's a fun one and also like very Christian made.
I wouldn't say we love them, but they are necessary.
Yeah, they are about a third of what's available to us. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when you do a Christian film podcast, I mean, who doesn't love to hear about the devil and the Antichrist? But it is literally about 1/3 of the Christian films that are out there. So at some point, you're like, okay, we got another apocalypse. We got the one world currency. We got the.
We gotta get a.
They kind of run together.
Card.
I know we honestly do. Yeah,
that
would be fun. Oh, we could do a screening with that. That would be fun. With the bingo card.
We definitely got to cover the devil conspiracy though. Somebody else actually mentioned that to me recently, Bruce, like a couple weeks ago. Somebody I don't know who listens
movie?
to the podcast. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. It I mean a lot of like just like my like movie friends saw it. I think just because it was like in theaters and people were like, what the hell is this? You know? So nice. It reached a lot of people that I don't know, probably normally wouldn't watch something like that. But no, it's a cool movie, Christian or not, you know. I just want to talk about a couple other like Christian movies I saw recently, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, please, yeah.
Sure. There's this like shot on video director named Doug Ulrich from Baltimore. He made like a bunch of like really cool like cool low budget effects horror movies in the 90s, and then at some point just like started making like some weird Christian stuff. So I wanted to see one of them, and so the one I watched was called The Prophet of Oz, and it's so I don't know, it's like terrible but charming in a way. It's like the whole land of Oz is CGI, and each like person that the Dorothy figure meets is like represents, instead of it being like, I don't know, like your brain and your heart, it's like represents your prayer, or like your I don't know, all like Christian themes. It's but
wait, where did you watch that? On YouTube?
I watched it. I got a weird like bootleg DVD of it. Who the guy I bought it from claims to have gotten it from the director, but it might be out there, you know. But the scarecrow represents faith. The Tin Man represents prayer, and the lion is compassion.
Wow.
And you know, it's crazy because like all of his like 90s movies are just like, you know, like really cool, like cheap gore movies. I think he was, I mean, you can tell that he was like still Christian back then, even though like the movies themselves aren't like what you would consider Christian. But like he has this movie where it's called Darkest Soul, and
I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it? Oh, so okay. So it's like the movie itself is like, it's like, I don't know, it's pretty nasty. It's like grave robbing, but like there's like a scene where like they're at a party and like the song that's on is all the lyrics are about praying the rosary. So it's like,
holy shit.
You can tell I think he's been Christian, but just decided to make Christian movies when he's older. Yeah.
Oh man, that's fun. I'm gonna keep an ear out for that because I've been meaning to rewatch Darkest Soul because it came on the Scary Tales Blu-ray.
Right.
Whenever I picked that up, and that's funny.
Yeah, which I mean that's Doug Ulrich is the guy's name. He's a SOV director from the 90s that went on to make Christian films in like the later 2000s.
Very inspirational.
And one other shot on video Christian movie, which I don't think there's a lot of, but Tim Ritter, who's like known for like the Truth or Dare, Creep, and like Killing Spree movies, like he just put out like a box set of like all of his old. It's called like Tim Ritter: The SOV Years, and there's like this one movie I'd never heard of called Reconciled in the box, and it's a total Christian film. It's like the guy is like talking to a hitchhiker and he's like thinking about killing his wife, and the hitchhiker keeps like trying to like spread the good news on him. And
let's go.
And he keeps murdering the hitchhiker, but he keeps coming back, and as just like, I don't know, some sort of undying like preacher. And then there's an insane twist ending to it. But
is it literally called Reconciled Through the Christ?
I honestly want to say that like I saw it as just Reconciled, but that might have just been like a shortened title.
I just found a listing of it somewhere, and it called it Reconciled Through the Christ.
If it's Tim Ritter, that's definitely it.
Yeah, that's very explicit. So cool.
Yeah,
we have to watch that. That would be so fun.
Yeah,
the movie. It like Tim Ritter. I feel like 95% of his movies, the plot is like somebody's cheating on their spouse, and like like the spouse wants to like murder and revenge. That's like the setup. But then about an hour of the movie at least is just like the husband and the hitchhiker arguing whether God is real or should be a part of his life or what to do. And it's the entire movie is just like a religious conversation, which is insane coming from a director like Tim Ritter.
Yeah, that sounds like one of our movies. All right.
Yeah.
That would be right at home with anything else we watch. So that sounds.
Yeah.
I think we should watch that.
It's because you wouldn't think of as Ritter as like a Christian from any of his movies. I mean, there's a lot of like nasty stuff in this movie.
Yes. That's wild. That's cool. Man, a SRS Cinema box set. Gotta hit up Ron Bonk.
There's probably like a cheaper way to watch the movie out there, but that's where I saw it.
Let's see. Anything else notable from El Día de la Bestia that we should be sure to mention? We sort of said this in the beginning, but I do want to explicitly say that the metal club that they go to, which ends up being like a very important plot point in the film, is literally called Infierno, Hell. It's so sick to have a club called Hell, and you go there to see Satanica and all the other metal clubs, and it's just like, it is just a crazy scene. As Bruce said in the beginning of our conversation, it's just like, yeah, the type of movie club you see. And for me, it was like watching like rave scenes in films as a kid. I would see that and be like, when I'm older, I'm going to go to a party like that in Los Angeles. Yeah. And you go to some cool parties. They'll never look quite like that. But I feel like that's what looking at Hell was like. It was like, oh, I got to go to a metal show like that. Y'all.
Or in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You'll find some cool ones.
Ninja Turtle. Oh, you talk about when they go to the den and they're just like hanging out and like skating, and he's like, here's like free cartons of cigarettes.
At the Foot Clan hideout. It's so cool.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for like I try to like do stuff like that in my movies. I'm like, all right, like in like Course for Christmas, there's like a big like metal club where people keep going to. But without I don't have like a studio or like a real budget and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I just put on a concert, and it's like shooting like, all right, this is what it's really like, and that's the best I can do.
It was cool though. It's effective. It works in the movie really well.
It really does. Yeah.
Speaking of venues, you were able to shoot at Philomoka as well, right?
Philomoka is all the concert scenes we shot at Philomoka. We had like one day to do whatever we wanted in the theater, so we filmed. I think it's like 6 or 7 scenes that take place at Philomoka, and plus concert footage, and so we filmed it all from like I don't know, 4 in the afternoon until midnight. This is like all the time we had.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was shooting there was absolutely insane because we had 5 bands play, and then we got there a couple hours before anyone had to play and before like the crowd starts showing up, and so we filmed as much as we could, and then it was like, all right, once bands started playing and once like the crowd was there, we would basically just have sound check / band setup time. Like, all right, we might have 15 or 20 minutes. Let's bang out a scene as fast as possible. And we would get 1, maybe 2 takes. I don't know. It's an insane way to shoot a movie, and I'll probably never do it again. But it was it was like high energy, intense, but like fun.
Yeah. That's
what
awesome.
What are you thinking about doing next? Do you have any plans that you can talk about, or you just
yeah? Well, at the kind of like almost at the same time as Corpse for Christmas, we were filming a short movie called Pumpkin Man Lives. It's kind of like a ghost story that's based on a David the Rock Nelson short called Pumpkin Man. That one's kind of like it's like, I don't know, like a guy like accidentally like kills his girlfriend and comes back as a pumpkin ghost to haunt the house and where people are still living there. It's very silly. It's a PG movie. It stars a 4-year-old, and it's the complete opposite of Corpse for Christmas.
I love that.
And then there's one of the stars in Corpse for Christmas is Ossuary Angel, who they play one of the victims in the movie, and we're talking about doing something where they would play some sort of lesbian serial killer. That might be the next feature film that we do, but it's still in like early development stages. I don't have a script yet, but that might be our next project. But Pumpkin Man Lives will be the next thing that comes out. That'll come out this fall. It'll probably screen at Filmoka, and it'll probably be like a very small release. And then maybe we'll shoot something early next year.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome.
Staying busy. That's a lot of films in a short time.
Yeah, I mean, for these kind of movies, I think just like shooting like fast and quick and getting it out there is just like the way to do it.
Yes.
I feel like that's sort of like the grindhouse or like drive-in approach that that would have happened in like the 70s or 80s. But I don't know, for cheap movies like this, I don't know, I just feel like do them, shoot them, edit them, and get them out. And I don't know, it's just fun that way. Where I know guys that like have like similar budgets but spend like 2 or 3 years shooting a film, and it does just as well as my movies. And
right, yeah,
I don't know, I feel like the faster turnaround is just more fun to me.
Yeah, it's fun. You don't have to be you can still have a lot of fun and be proud of what you're doing, but you don't have to feel like super precious about it, like it's like your life's secret or whatever that you're carrying out. And I do think that it suits I think one thing I personally like about shot on video films is that they combine like the immediacy. They have a similar sense of immediacy as like digital camcorder stuff, but because they're still being shot on like tape, they sort of have a little more of like a permanent factor that you would like shooting something on film. So it's a nice marriage between the two. It's like stuff feels really like quick and punk, and like you're not so concerned about like mistakes, or you're just trying to capture like the first thing, but it still kind of gets like pressed into the material in a way that feels like long lasting and permanent. I think it benefits to just work quickly and get a full idea out. So that makes sense to me.
Sure.
It feels like a really natural way to. It feels like just the approach that makes sense, like your approach just seems to be like that's why I'm going to make it that way, because that's how the movies I like are made.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just starts with a fucked up idea, and I don't know how far we can take it and how much we can do it. And Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's the kind of stuff. I don't know. It's like there's the movies I like to watch, so it's like they're the ones I want to make.
Yeah, no, I think you're like doing a good job not overthinking it and like keeping it like fun because that's what it's supposed to be in the first place.
Sure. Yeah. No, we this one especially too. We filmed so fast too because we brought in we worked with a couple actors beyond our friend circle this time. So we had the lead actress is Casper Melted Hair, and she's from Kentucky, so she was able to come up to Philly for 5 days. So basically, we shot all of her scenes in 4 days, and then like an hour into like Friday morning.
Damn.
Which was just like 90% of the movie. Like,
wow.
To shoot that much in such a short time to me is insane. With like Bloodsick, we had a lot more freedom because it was like everyone lived in Philly and we were mostly friends. Whereas we brought in we had like a semi-real production crew this time, and like actors from out of state, and I don't know, it was weird. It was a lot more pressure this time, but still a lot of fun. Whereas Bloodsick, we just filmed on the weekends over the course of like 6 weeks.
That's great.
All right, so we have just gotten to chat about The Day of the Beast, El Día de la Bestia, with filmmaker Brewce Longo. And it's about time to give our official Boys Bible Study reviews. What do we think, boys? Brewce?
Yeah, I think Day of the Beast earned a solid 666 out of 666 occult symbols.
That is a perfect score right there. What makes you think that? What about the film?
I mean, it's the perfect just anarchy, revelation, antichrist movie. It's just it's heavy metal, acid, and the beast. I mean, what more can you want?
Yup. Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to give it a 12 out of 12 days of Christmas.
Woohoo!
Climaxing with the birth of the Antichrist on December 25th, and then ending with, I think, what was it, popcorn on string in early January.
Right, yeah.
According to
the famous 12th day of Christmas.
Was that Christmas Unwrapped?
Christmas Unwrapped,
Christmas
our favorite DVD we ever watched, which told us the true meaning of Christmas, made by a deranged man, pastor, Pastor Greg.
Probably could see a lot of similarities between him and Ángel in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Ángel knew what he was doing more, I think.
Yeah.
God forbid if Greg had to fucking try to prevent the birth of the Antichrist. We'd be on fire right now.
But I love this movie.
I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, we'll send it. It's a non-fictional DVD Pastor Greg Robbins made about the true meaning of the 12 days of Christmas. It's very informative.
Awesome.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
I really love this movie. I thought it was a really fantastic, maybe perfect horror comedy.
Yeah.
In my eyes, at least. It was, scary, funny. Those are my favorite kind of horror comedies too, where there's no real jokes. It's just like everything that happens is just so insane you laugh at it. Yeah. It didn't take itself too seriously while still having like some really good messages and some really great film. It was a really amazingly crafted and shot film. I didn't expect this high a production value.
Me too.
But it was awesome. Yeah. Not too gory, which is kind of nice for a horror comedy because they sometimes I feel like a lot of the humor is derived from like over the top violence, and this was, I mean, while it was like, grotesque and horrific to see like shelterless people get murdered and set on fire, it wasn't like gross, trying to gross you out.
Yeah,
which is nothing.
Not as much blood and guts.
Yeah, sure.
Which they don't need.
Yeah, it knew what it needed, and it was. I loved it.
For all the reasons everyone just said, I have to give Day of the Beast 25 out of 25 years studying the Antichrist and when and where it will be delivered to us, which is Christmas Day, the 25th. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Perfect movie. Just a great movie. and very fun to talk about in relation to A Corpse for Christmas, another alternative Christmas movie, which hopefully, listeners, if you live nearby, you can catch on tour.
It's kind of suck for
I like to think that you'll be able to find some Christian insight in A Corpse for Christmas as well.
Yeah.
It's got to suck.
I was born and raised Catholic, and where I'm not practicing anymore, but I still think it's still rooted in my blood somewhere in there. I mean, it's still a Christmas movie one way or another.
It's got to suck for the Antichrist to have his birthday on Christmas.
I know, yeah.
Because you don't really get the proper
split
party,
all presents.
all the presents.
Yeah, that sucks.
Maybe that's what he wants. He just wants to ruin Jesus's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he gets off on that. Yeah. No, I feel you, Bruce. I do think that try as one might to run away with it, there is something about being embedded with a certain religious practice when you're young that does stick with you in some way. Some maybe more seriously than others, but still, that's definitely something we talk about on our show a lot. But as for me, a big fan of El Día de la Bestia. I loved it. It was just fun. Like it was great. I loved the way that it very gracefully incorporated like biblical truths or whatever stuff directly from the Bible, wove it into like a fun suspenseful conspiracy like antichrist film. It was just very clever. I was really blown away by the writing of this film. Gonna have to give this film 7 out of 7 trumpets, y'all, from the Book of Revelation, because we blowing on those MFs on Christmas 1995 or whenever this was supposed to take place. I can't remember the year. Very clever use of the idea of the Book of Revelation being a cryptogram, and it was just sick. We loved it, and it ended up being an excellent pairing with the work of Brewce Longo. So, Brewce, thank you so much for joining us on Boys Bible Study today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, before we go though, can you please give people the rundown on where they can find you, and maybe mention again this tour you're on and how people can see where you'll be?
Sure. Yeah. The best way to follow me is Instagram at Bloodsick Productions. You can catch my new movie, A Corpse for Christmas, on our Christmas in July tour. By the time this show is out, we probably would have already played Pittsburgh and Kansas City, but then we have shows coming up in Audubon, New Jersey, Spectacle Theater in Brooklyn, New York, and then we'll be playing Philomoka in Philadelphia, the Auto Bar in Baltimore, Ralph's Rock Diner in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Dots Cafe in Portland, and Joe Swanberg's Analog Video in Chicago. And then you can pre-order the Blu-ray at bloodsickproductions.big cartel now if you're not in one of those areas. And that'll so the Blu-ray and VHS will be available to order and start shipping after the tour sometime mid to late August. Oh, I'm sorry. We're also playing Lancaster, Pennsylvania, August 4th. So that'll be our last show of the tour.
And before we go here on the Boys Bible Study side of things, as always, if it's your first time here, go to boysbiblestudy.com. Check out all of our public episodes you can listen to for free. And if you want more content, you really like what we do, you want to support, patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. All subscribers, $5 per month or more, get access to all our bonus episodes. That's at least 2 extra episodes every month for the faithful. And shout outs especially to our patron saints at the $20 tier, Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, Kara, and Rhett. And our outro music is the song Oh My God by Mary. So from all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, our guest today, Brewce Longo, we would like to say, peace be with you.
Yo Saturnalia and Merry Christmas.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day you